Hey, sorry for the bad audio quality. Sean took my microphones to record the Big Berry podcast. Go check that out if you haven't. I just wanted to quickly let you guys know that if you're in the New York City or Westchester area, Two Mic Minimum is having its first live stand-up show happening at Lucy's Laugh Lounge in Pleasantville, New York on December 7th, 7:30 p.m. We're putting on a really fantastic group of our previous guests who you might know from listening to our past episodes. We got Samantha Ivy on the show from Orlando, Florida. We got Brian Morris from Madison, Wisconsin. We got Nick Fields from Dallas, Texas. And headlining the show, we have a local favorite, Monty Mason. Very funny guy. Tickets are only $10. No drink minimum. That's a great deal for a comedy show, especially one that features a great group of New York City comics. And if you're also interested in seeing the magic of the Two Mic Minimum podcast happening up close, we're going to be recording our first live episode right before the show at 6 p.m. That's absolutely free to come to. So if you want to come to that before the show, we'd love to have an audience for that show. We're really looking forward to recording live in front of all of our fans. But either way, December 7th, 7:30, $10 tickets for a show. You can get your tickets at lucyslaughlounge.com. Please come check it out. Unless you're one of our Russian listeners, in which case you probably won't get a visa in time. But anyway, we hope you enjoy this week's episode. Take care.
To Mic Minimum.
Wait, Chrissy's at the food right now, not reacting to
what
what we're doing.
Hasn't seen the pose.
There we go. We're doing the pose.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's a Two Mic Minimum
actually,
pose.
I didn't know if I was waiting for you to intro me or not.
No, well, we will, but
yeah, no. Feel free to talk.
everyone reacts to the insanity that this is. You're
we
very
finally
loud.
got
Hold on.
alcohol back on this podcast.
There
We're
we
drinking right now. We're eating. What do you got there, Sean?
I have a nice Captain and Coke, my drink of choice.
Yeah.
Captain Morgan, please sponsor either of my podcasts. Seriously, if you just send me send me a month's supply, I'll be happy. Like, I love you, Captain Morgan. I really do.
Desperate pleas to corporations aside, we're here at the White Plains Comedy Club, the soon-to-be world-famous White Plains Comedy Club. There's not a show going on right now, but we're digging into some bacon and truffle fries.
All right, let's see if everyone can hear this. Oh, my God. Oh,
this is good bacon. I mean, it's weirdly thick. It's like...
That's what she said.
Exactly. I'm not sure if people were able to hear that because Chrissy's not holding her microphone. We got some
fine.
truffle
That's
fries.
what she said.
she's cutting out the
Weirdly
meat.
thick.
Weirdly thick.
So it's good food here. What was I going to say, Sean? Oh, yeah.
You're coming there in a second.
Oh, yeah. Congratulations on being a podcast producer. You got your first credit because Back of the Book by Aaron McLaughlin is out now.
It is.
I just listened to the first episode with our good friend Frankie Becerra. Very, very funny. Very, very good premise. Basically, she takes like a free book that she finds on Amazon and reads the premise on the back with a comedian guest or improviser. And they pretty much make up a story based on what they're given on the back of the book, and it's really funny.
It's a very
really
fun
good,
show.
Really good
I
delight.
produced that. I'm on the second episode. Peter's gonna be on, I think, the fourth episode.
Eventual episode, and so is our guest Chrissy.
She'll also be on an episode.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So our guest here tonight is very, very funny. She's the host of Compound Media's The Wet Spot, and she's also a local favorite here in Westchester. Chrissie Mayr.
Oh, my God. Thank you, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been so long, Sean. Way
It's
too
been,
long.
yeah. This
Cheers
is,
to us, guys.
Cheers.
Yes. Thank you for...
Hopefully you're.
I might have come through.
If you're
Podcasting.
drinking along with the podcast,
You should be. Hey, if you're driving, crack open a beer.
crack
Yeah,
open a beer.
please
Crack open a cold
Crack
one.
open a thick bacon or a truffle French fry.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So we're at Z Prime Steakhouse, aka White Plains Comedy Club. Seriously, people, treat yourself one night and come out here for food. It is
The
food
here is
so
amazing.
good.
Yeah, if you've gone to Peter Luger's and you like the thick cut bacon, but you did read that Times article about how Peter Luger's is like sort of
They took it
going out
down.
of fashion.
That was
Come
weird.
here because they got that same thick cut bacon feeling.
Thick cut is how I describe myself on Tinder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
But you
describe.
also mentioned that you're on a dating freeze right now.
I am now declared myself a volcel, voluntarily celibate.
Volcel.
So you definitely can have sex. You just choose not.
I
to.
choose not to. That's my new saying.
So how long are you going to be a volcel for?
As long as it takes.
As long as it's because you mentioned this on a really episode a long time ago where you're like, I'm just gonna tell myself I don't want to have sex, and then people want to have sex with me.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I'm gonna
all
see
right,
if that works. I have had a number of women slide to my DMs in the last 2 weeks.
all right.
And he slid them back out.
I did push them back out. That's not really what this show's about, but
It is now.
it is now. But
Some girl sat on his face and he was like, "Ew, get out."
yeah, a little bit. That's not.
We have chairs.
She's like, I want to go for a mustache ride, and I'm like, well, I'm shaving it off.
Yeah.
Thank
Hand
you.
me my razor, bitch.
Yeah, enough of that. I know. No, thank you, women.
So how are you doing, Chrissy?
I'm doing good.
Yeah,
I'm really into these truffle fries.
I'm into the truffle
Truffle fries
fries too.
I've been doing intermittent fasting, which means I'm only eating between 12 and 8, and it's clearly, no, it's 7-ish.
Yeah,
so I'm
this is your
still in
last
my
chance.
window.
Yeah.
Has it, you know what I mean? It's been pretty good. I feel like I've de-bloated a little bit. Like, if nothing else, it's stopped me from eating late at night. Like, it's hard to not eat till noon every day, but, like, it's really no big deal because I don't really get to my day job until, like, 10:30-ish, 10:30.
Yeah, that's only
So,
an hour
like,
and a half then.
by the time I turn around, it's, like, time to eat. So, it's pretty good. I've been doing that. I've been not working out. I've got to get back on it, though, because I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to put on the holiday LBs.
Yeah, you gotta start now because then after Thanksgiving it just spirals. Like people just throw cookies at you in New York in December.
I mean, yeah, no, it's everywhere. Like if you work in an office too, like just everyone has treats around.
Thank God I don't have a real job.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
Keep
my
the pounds
birthday on
off.
Monday. Also, that.
Happy Wolf.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday!
Yeah, it was fun. I got this manicure. I got a pedicure.
What did Frank get you?
He got me some plants I really wanted and
Ooh.
some bath. I really love baths, so he got me like fancy bath salts and bath bombs and these really gorgeous amethyst earrings that are at home right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really fun, and I'm gonna maybe take myself to like a massage or a facial later this weekend. And
Give a birthday gift for yourself.
birthday rub down.
Birthday
Hell
treat.
yeah.
And a
Treat
couple
yourself.
of fans sent me vibrators, so I'm going to try those out.
Are you serious?
Yes, because on my show, The Wet Spot, on Conan
Yeah.
Media at 8 p.m. every Monday, I was lamenting that my vibrator was about to die. I was like, because I've had this Hitachi magic wand, like the microphones you're both holding in your hands. This is about the size of a Hitachi magic wand, and about the shape of it too.
Yeah.
So it's like the bulk of it is motor, and like the top part, like none of it's for insertion. It's just for the top, right? And it's just like it's a back massager technically.
These mics do look phallic now that
But
I put a
I-
big screen on.
I've been massaging my back a lot since I've got this back massager, and I put a lot of miles on it. So I was saying on my show that my back massager sounds like an old boat. Like I'd turn on and be like, and then the handle would get really hot. And I was like, you know, I'm kind of not that I'm frugal, but when it comes to like something like a sex toy, I want to use it till it's dead. So I was like, but I was also worried like this thing's about to burst into flames too. And I was talking about this on my show, and then like not one but two fans sent me new vibrators, and I am touched without being touched.
If any of our fans would like to send Peter a vibrator, slide into my DMs. I'll tell you where to send them.
Or or if you're a vibrator company, you want to sponsor this
sponsor
podcast.
the pod, please. Adam and Eve, do you guys still exist?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Adam and Eve will sell ourselves out for anything.
Or even Adam and Steve, you guys are woke.
We are woke.
Sean and I will try out things on each other from Adam and Eve.
We will do a
If-
video, our first video podcast of us trying sex. Let's not promise.
Especially if you know what? You keep that mustache
No,
on,
honest-
and I'll believe it.
Yeah, no, I'm a very desired man in the gay community. Like by all.
You have bear written
Yeah,
all
a
over.
lot
Bear,
of
the
lot
mustache
of men
help.
can save that. A lot does not mean
I'm a
shit.
specific type though, like big, hairy.
Right,
Like that's
right.
a very.
Yeah, and I'm a twink, so
Well, yeah, but
Yeah,
there's,
like
there's
an
a lot
otter.
more twinks than there are me's in the gay community.
okay. So
Yeah.
yeah, if you're a gay man, hit up Sean and he'll reject you because again,
I'm a
he's
volcel
He's a
now.
volcel
Yeah.
now.
He's a volcel.
Don't
No,
even try
no
it,
one
women.
gets this now.
Don't even try
Wow.
it.
Don't
It's
even try.
making me really want you. The fact that you're like, no
Yeah,
sex.
you
I
just-
can actually kind of see how it's working now. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
it's
yeah,
working.
women,
Keep
don't
saying
It's like
that.
it's a reverse
do
neg.
not flaunt your pussies in Sean's
It's like that
DMs
episode of
at
Sex
all.
in the City where Samantha was really pursuing this monk, and he was like not having sex at all, and that just made her want him even more.
Exactly. It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like but it's not a strategy. It's my way of life.
Yeah,
like that's
yeah,
that's
no,
just,
it's his accepting that celibacy for the time being is good for his soul, and he doesn't need anything
You're also
corrupting
saving
himself right now.
A ton of money on dates.
yeah. I don't have much money now. Like I used to do this thing in college to save money on dates, where I would go to the same restaurant and schedule 3 dates in a row with 3 different women, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna hang out here for.
You just stay there.
Just stay there all day.
You would do your own speed dating.
Shout out to College Town Bagels. They
wow,
yeah.
a bagel date, no less.
Yeah.
He's just got biology notes between them, being
Yeah,
like,
no.
all right, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Wow.
exactly. Like,
Let's cram this in for the next 2
it,
hours.
It worked well. It did.
Yeah, no, you're really proud. I actually think I remember your number,
Yeah, well, that's
which
Sex
is
number?
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a sex
What is it?
number.
you can listen to the Big Berry podcast to find out.
Mm,
wow.
Yeah,
We're
you
not
got to
gonna
listen to
tease
Big
it?
Barry.
It's 29. I'll just say it. But if you want to know in-depth details, listen to the Big Berry podcast birthday bash episode.
Birthday. Oh yeah, I was on that too.
Yeah, that was the one.
Special dick
lot of fun.
episode.
Special dick. I'll get some dicks on.
It's great though that you, with your platform now that you have a way for fans to like give you stuff.
It's amazing.
Which is it's not many people reach that level of popularity. Like I see this with like content creators all the time where they're like, oh man, I really wish someone would send me like a Pikachu, or they don't say that, but they're like, I really need like a Pikachu plush to get my room together. And then like the next video, they're like, okay, so I got 1,000 Pikachu plushes in the mail.
wow.
yeah,
And
people.
yeah.
If I had known that I would get this much stuff, I would have tried to get a podcast like years ago.
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
work that way.
no, you should.
But I also I hate asking for things. Like I have a real issue with that, even with people I'm close to.
Right, but you don't have to ask for them though.
I can
You
just
gotta
talk
be like,
about how my vibrator is about to die.
Be like,
Yeah.
I think Frank's
You
Frank's
just
a great
imply it.
lover, but like, man, his
But
dick's
some-
just a
But
little
man.
too
He's
small.
working too many long nights at the club.
yeah.
His dick's just a little too small. Then the next week you
little
get a
too
bunch
Italian.
of penis pills.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, just to start off at the beginning here, what made you want to get into comedy,
This
Chrissy?
is a weird opening to the show in general.
yeah.
Yeah,
but,
from dicks to comedy.
It's a loosey-goosey
it's
episode.
Kind
We're
of
drinking.
falls into that.
It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
all goes together. I'm eating the truffle like shavings from the tablecloth.
Yeah.
That's the kind of fancy gal I am. When I was in college, I really wanted to be a reporter. So I interned at Dateline, and I would commute from Fairfield U in Connecticut to Dateline and 30 Rock and NBC. And once I got there, I was like, oh, wow, Stone Phillips is the most boring man I've ever met. And I was like, I don't really want to be doing this. This is like, I also didn't want to have to move out to Alaska or a shitty market just to work my way back to like New York or a relevant market. And so I was like, ugh, no. And then at the time, there was one female writer at Conan. Her name was Allison Silverman, and she's either writing for them currently or somewhere else. So I reached out to her and somehow got myself not an interview, but like an internship for Conan the next school year for when I was a senior, which is like very industrious, like for someone who's not on Adderall, like it wasn't around.
Wait, so why did you reach out to her in the beginning? Were you like interested in
Because
interning?
I thought
or?
I wanted to be a reporter, but
Okay.
once
Yeah.
I was at Dateline, I was like, this is fucking
Right.
boring.
Yeah. So you're like,
And I was like a little bit interested in comedy. And then I reached out to her. And I somehow was able to get myself an internship because the internships are way harder to get during the summer because that's when all the
That's
sons
when
and
everyone-
all
daughters,
the kids are out of the.
that's when all the kids
Right.
of the adults who work there basically like get really hooked up with internships. But during the fall and the spring, during the school year, that's really the only chance like the kids who go to a nearby school can get. And so it's actually, I don't know, it's easier to get it during the school year. And I just happened to ask at the right time. And then I was hanging out with the writers and, I would see Conan here and there, but mostly hanging out with the writers. And they were like, and it was just very exciting. Like, I just loved being around all of it. And they were like, oh, if you like comedy, you should do improv. So I started doing improv at college. And then after I graduated, did UCB for 5 years.
Damn.
And then I did a one-woman show. Yeah, I did UCB. I did Magnet. I did all the classes, a team, all the classes, a team, both theaters. And then I did a one-woman show. And then after that, I was like, oh, wow, I could do stand-up now, I think. And then, so I've been doing stand-up like, shit, I think it'll be 10 years in March, which
Wow.
is crazy.
Wow, big
It's a lot of
double
years.
digits
It's a
now.
lot
Happy
of-
comedy anniversary. Yeah.
It's not even, it's like, what is it, November? So I'm still at 9, a healthy
yeah,
9.
nine and a
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
know.
I hate the numbers. Like I really do.
Yeah,
now.
people always
it's
ask how long
always
you've
just
been doing
It
for.
trips you up.
because it's like 90% of comics I talk to now have like the well I started 7 years ago,
Exactly.
but
But then I
really,
took a break for a year, and then
but like I mean, because the thing is like the numbers so much attached to how good people perceive you as that you want to like. I mean, Frank told me like was like, yeah, you should say 3 years because you seem like a 3-year comic. I'm like, that's fair. I don't want to I don't want to like say I've been
Also,
doing
like,
it for a
nobody
long
cares
time.
either.
no one actually. Funny's funny, right? Like that's
Yeah.
like
Like,
Michael.
you know what? I'm going to start saying 3
Like
years.
before Michael Che got Saturday Night Live, he'd been doing it for 3 years.
Yeah,
Less than that.
but honestly,
Yeah, like there's like
I
no
mean,
time at all.
I mean, that's why now I'm just saying I just started like 3 days ago. Like
Yeah.
wherever I go, I'm just
this
like
was
I
my-
just
this
started.
is my first show.
Yeah,
This is my
I
first.
started just saying in every open mic, this is my first open mic.
just
Yeah.
absolutely.
I say it
murdering
every Monday at Lucy's now. It's just, this is my first. Take it easy on me, everybody.
It works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So after improv, you got into stand up, and where'd you start? You started in the city in the open mic scene.
My very first real show was at Comics, which is like been shut down for years. But I was going to the mics and the bringers at New York Comedy Club, which was run by a totally different group of people than it is now. And it was this duo, like it was called Super Ego. And it was this guy, Daryl, I think, and this woman, Michelle, who like died of ass cancer a few years ago.
Sad.
Yeah, and they were great.
Sean says as he's checking his emails.
Well, no, I was looking at Super Ego because I remember hearing about it before.
Yeah, they were really great, and people like to shit on bringers, but like I liked it because it was the only way that I was gonna get a really decent real show, and I had friends that wanted to see me, so I wasn't like
right.
You know, I did a lot of them, but I always had people that were willing to come out. Nah, I wasn't one of these super bringers that you see. You know, they have like fucking 20 and 30 friends because they're like born and raised in the
Hey,
city.
Can you just bring 15 people real quick? Oh, I saw somebody advertise that bringer they're doing. It's like tickets are $17.94, and there's 2 drink minimum at the door unless you don't buy tickets in advance, which is $20 at the door plus 2 drinks. And I'm
Please
like,
bring your entire high school class.
yeah, please bring it. I'm
That's
like,
the
what
only way
fuck?
you'll get on stage.
Like, just if you're gonna do a bringer, make it fair. Do like
Make it 2.
Make it a 2 to 3 person bringer, and tickets are only $10.
Yeah.
Like I think that's fair. I think that's fair for everybody.
I think I would bring like, I don't know, between 4 and maybe 8 people. It wasn't that many. It really wasn't. I think it was a 5-person bringer, but they weren't crazy and they weren't harsh on you if you didn't come up with enough people. And they gave me a lot of good feedback, you know. And I just kept going with it. Yeah, of course. Like, it's so tricky to measure years because what person out of the gate is going to be so hard? There's very few people who are like out of the gate. I'm getting up every night. I know this is what I want to do. I'm really committed. Mm-hmm. It sometimes takes a few years to figure out if you really like it or not.
And also, it's hard because I'm not going to mention which comic this is. So you were judging the whatever comedy competition that was going on this summer. I forgot what it was called, like the Empire State Showdown.
Yes,
Empire
I love that so much. I love sort of gently roasting all of the contestants.
And there was a there was a comic there who performed and didn't do too well with the audience. Wasn't really able to connect. And you I remember you asking that person like, "You seem very new." And he was like, "No,
not new?
I'm not new at all. I've been doing it for some time."
You should have just said you were new.
But it
because
was
he
like,
was making all the rookie mistakes.
Yeah, but I think it was also just like nerves and the fact that like he went out of the gate like not getting his jokes to connect, and you know I mean that happens to the best of.
I was there, and I
and you
make a lot
destroyed
of
him.
men nervous. Oh no, did I really?
Yeah, you're what they describe as a man eater.
Really?
And this is why women should be allowed in comedy. This is where we're getting into this section of it now.
That's the last thing I would see myself as a man eater, because in life I'm just like I'm a delicate flower.
You're very confident on stage though.
Yeah.
Like
It's
you
all
really
an
own
act.
it.
Thank you. I think that's because on stage is like who I would like to be. Because I feel unencumbered. I feel like, well, I can't hurt anybody's feelings on stage. And I can also say it's a character. You know, if I want to say some shit I really want to say.
I mean, you walk out on blackface every time. It's like that's a choice.
Yeah.
There is that. I do spend so much money in
I feel the same
makeup.
way. As like the stage is really the only area of my life where I kind of feel confident, because I don't feel confident in a lot of aspects of my life.
Me too.
But if I'm fucking crushing it, I'm like, hell yeah. Like people
It's the best
respect
feeling.
me.
That high, I've never done hair heroin, but I can't imagine. Well, Artie Lang said it. Like it's close.
Wow.
It's close to it.
Yeah, it's like, wow, people like you, and then it goes away so fast, and then you need to get it again, and then you get it. You go on stage and you don't do so great. You're like, well, that didn't fucking count.
You did the exact
but
same.
But it's
10
double-edged
minutes.
sword because if you really eat it and people aren't with you, it makes you feel like shit.
It's like you dig yourself a
it
hole.
makes you feel
Time
like
to jump.
shit
Time
because
to
it's
jump
like
the thing you wanted. Well, now you're in the negative.
because all these people think I'm a fucking loser now because they're like, who's this guy who went on stage and
Fucking
did
asshole.
shit material
Sucked
that didn't
his
make
own
me
dick.
happy?
Here's the, I wish if they didn't like you, they actually would like
Throw
boo-
tomatoes at you.
Yeah,
Would
I
you
think
like to be
I'd
booed?
I'd rather be booed.
Very Shakespearean.
Than just the every kind of trying to hide because they don't like it. That's worse. That hurts. Like I'd rather people hate me than feel bad for how bad I'm doing.
I mean, there's nothing to me. Yeah, like silence is worse than booing.
Yeah, that is
because booing, at least there's like some sort of response.
Booing, you can justify. Oh, they're drunk.
But silence means that people are probably ignoring you to some extent.
They're like,
I mean, I
it's
wouldn't
like-
know. I've never bombed, but I really feel, I really
no,
feel
Chris
for
is
you
a perfect
guys.
comedian.
I know. I'm doing my first half hour tomorrow, and I'm like, well, let's see how this goes, baby.
Are you?
Yeah, I've told you this before.
At Pace?
We've mentioned this on this podcast before. At Pace,
I
yeah.
didn't know you were doing a half hour though.
I remember my
I
first half
definitely said
hour.
it's a half hour with you before. Either way, it's a half
Good
hour.
fucking luck, man.
Definitely
That's hard
relax
shit.
into it.
No, I'm
Like
Oh yeah, please. You
Take-
gotta.
relax into it. It's like it's like the comedy equivalent of like laying down on a couch. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like definitely like how do you feel about crowd work? I mean, you're gonna have to feel okay about it
I'm
now.
good. It's a fraternity show, so like,
yeah. Oh,
these-
you're gonna be great.
yeah, I'm not. I can always be like, look at this fat asshole.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
gonna get a laugh. Like that's gonna be fine.
Fraternities, they will love crowd work, and if at any point during your material you feel like you're losing them, just go back to crowd work because like
Yeah,
that's how a lot
just
of people
say
laugh.
fuck their rival school, and then you'll
Yeah.
be like, yeah.
I think their rival school is also Pace, though. Like, I think, so we'll see.
Yeah, because aren't they like? There's like 3 campuses.
There's like 7 Paces. I don't
There's
know.
like
I-
7
I don't know. I didn't do any
Yeah.
research ahead of time.
Just say that, or
You
say
should.
like.
That's what I like to do. Is like if you go to a school or somewhere specific, is to do. I find they really appreciate like specific jokes about their school or them or like fraternities, like fraternity jokes. Like
I know.
even
Yeah.
like street jokes
Yeah.
work.
Okay.
Oh, you know what'll work this time? Talk shit about Texas. They'll love it.
They'll love the
They'll love that.
Yeah.
At
Texas
Pace.
actually did like me shitting on Texas.
Yeah, just don't go out. Just don't go out your first minute being
No.
like, you know what school sucks? This one.
No,
I
well-
couldn't find parking anywhere. Who goes here?
That would never be my opening in a million. No, there are a lot of them are going for teaching, and I'm like that's what I figured my in was going to be. Like, all right, this is the next generation to fuck up America.
I mean, you should have a lot of material because like 90% of comics in New York City are teachers.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many comics. Like I was
Yeah.
on a show yesterday. Like I'm pretty sure half the people there were teachers.
Wow.
I mean, it's the perfect job for comedy. It's in a sense because like
Yeah, you can
you
work
have
nights
your,
and,
your nights are free completely.
and you have a full day of developing hatred.
The only
True.
problem though is that like and
you're comfortable
shout-
talking
I'm
in
gonna
front of a
say-
group.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
shout out to Anthony Moore because he was the headliner for the show I was on yesterday. Very funny. He was a teacher, but he was just like talking about how his like 5th graders discovered his stand up.
Oh no.
And,
Oh, God.
And like his 5th graders would comment on his video.
Oh no.
Love you, Mr. M.
Wow.
No, it was never that. It was just like, fuck you, Mr. M.
Oh, that's so funny.
And they're like, well, I don't know who this guy is because he's Halo Master 45.
Kids these days don't know what Halo is. They're all Fortniters.
That's
Wow.
so true. That's so true. There's such a generational
My
divide.
sister-in-law
When was the last Halo
works for the
game?
Fortnite
No idea.
company.
Oh, really?
I went to the corporate
Fortnite
offices.
company.
They're
You
called- it's
mean
called Epic Games.
Epic Games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's based out of North Carolina in Cary, and I went and visited the offices because it was like I was doing good nights in North Carolina. I was like headlining there, and she's like, "Well, I have to go to work on Friday, so you could come with me." And I was like, "Yes," and I went, and I was like just popping my head into like offices and conference room, going like, "I have a show tomorrow. Who wants to come?" And it was like literally all dudes that look like you guys in hoodies. Like that is the
No, yeah.
Yeah, I can
entire-
really see that. Yeah.
entire employee. There must be like 500 hoodies in that building at any given time.
Oh, because
Yeah.
it's just
Easily.
coders. I mean,
Coders
I
just-
mean, I have a lot of friends
crazy.
who are coders themselves, and like that lifestyle. I mean, like my friends aren't this extreme, but like when you get to like places like Silicon Valley,
Oh,
like there's
yeah.
people who have like developed
The autism is strong with
just
them.
formulas, like energy formulas to drink, so you can just keep going
wow.
all
You mean
night long to like
Adderall, Mountain Dew, and Doritos, baby.
but
That's
just like
wow.
just crazy,
gamer
just
lifestyle.
crazy energy because like they're just like coding 24/7 basically. I'm like, oh my god.
Do you guys watch Silicon Valley, the show?
I've watched the first season, like the first episode.
I watched all of it.
Great show.
I'm one episode behind right now.
Are you watching? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm up to date
Since
too.
TJ Miller left, it's gotten downhill.
I completely agree.
Like just like having a comedic presence, but now it's like it's too smart. Like
yeah, there's like
yeah.
there's nothing kind of mysterious or wild about the show.
I just need like a fat asshole on every TV show that also could be played by me, Hollywood. Listening, come on.
But so
TJ Miller was great.
So you mentioned North Carolina, and I know you've toured a lot essentially.
Oh yeah, I'm all over. I'm
so
very
where
successful.
Tell us
some places where you've been. Tell us some places where.
I'm gonna be in Bristol, PA. I think around Valentine's Day next year.
Take your lover out for that.
I'm going to be in Naples, Florida, visiting my dad for Thanksgiving. So I'm going to probably be hosting for Eddie Ift at Off the Hook. Even though the booker there is like a huge douchebag and shorted me out of like $100 last time I was there. It's okay. Water under the bridge. Totally forgot about it. But it's fine. It's like that. And that's how badly I want to like not meet my dad's new girlfriend, is that I'm like going to this club. I said I swore up and down I would never go back. But also I think he's one of these guys that like doesn't really like respect female comics, which is like, I guess I understand. A lot of us are awful, but
understandable.
You know,
some of us just have backwards way of viewing people, and that's how it is.
I was gonna say like we just did the Queens of the Compound here.
Oh yeah,
and I was surprised like what the turnout was for that, because it's like I expected a lot more creepy dudes.
You know, I was disappointed at the lack of creepy dudes. I wore something tight. I showed up. I showered and nothing. You know, very respectful.
Just very
too respectful.
Was it like the typical Westchester audience, where it's like all these like moms and dads, like these
for the Queens of the Comedy Show?
Yeah, which is usually the turnout for like a White Plains show.
It seemed like maybe more single people.
Okay,
Maybe
single
like
ladies, single was
both. It was like less.
All those single ladies
felt like moms and dads, but it seemed kind of like typical audience. Yeah.
So you had fans there, which was
I think so. Yeah, we definitely had a couple of like Compound Media fans that were like over in this corner, and we actually had some hosts of other shows come out, which was really touching. Yeah, Bill Schultz was there, and he co-hosts with Joanne Nosachinski. They do Morning, and Joanne, not a comic, she was Miss New York like a few years ago, but I was really impressed with her because she hosted and she like made up witty credits for everybody, and she is like very engaging on stage, and she really like it was very impressive. So it was a good show.
It's fun.
Yeah, and I was impressed too with the crowd's ability to hear multiple women in a row doing comedy. And I think I closed it out. I was like, what lady topics are left? We've covered them all.
Yes.
Did anybody talk about stillborns?
I was almost a stillborn child.
But here I am. Clearly not still anymore.
Yeah.
So you
Still
said, so yeah, where have you been around the country?
I have been, I've done comedy in Vegas at the Stratosphere. It's this club called LA Comedy Club, which is it's in Vegas, so it's a little confusing. But that's a great room. That felt very much like Atlantic City, like just people on vacation that want to have a good time. It's cool when a crowd feels similar to somewhere else you've been in the U.S. Because at first you go, oh, how are these people from New Jersey ever going to understand me?
Honestly,
I'm from so far away.
That's completely how I felt when we were in San Antonio, Texas. I'm like, what the like? This is a completely different area. Like, I don't know.
It was a different planet when we went out there.
What are these people going to find funny? I mean, I was told by one of the local comics there, they were just like, yeah, people here don't understand smart humor. I'm like, well, I hate that.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good time performing in San Antonio, but it was intimidating because I literally thought it almost felt like I imagine if you like tried to perform comedy in Bulgaria, like if you're able to communicate with those people
Bulgaria,
somehow,
we're coming to you.
It would be like, well, what's their frame of reference that I can share with them that'll make them laugh. That's how I felt with San Antonio too. Yeah. But I still had a good time in San Antonio.
Because you're like, what do we share?
Yeah, what do we
I'm
share?
not from here.
Yeah, we know we don't share the water down there.
No, because their water is overly fluorinated. I don't think that's a word, but
Peter did the first set of either of us, and he's like, I'm gonna open with this water bit. Just the look of disappointment on his face when it didn't connect was
Oh.
the hardest I've
Well,
laughed
it was
in a
more
long
it was
time.
more just
No more water
everything
comedy.
everything didn't connect.
Yeah,
I mean, this
a
was
shitty
an
open
open.
mic.
This is an open mic.
It was a weird.
It was an open mic, and I
Shout out
decided
to Jokesters 22 and
Jokesters
Maria, the owner of that. I
22,
hit on
yeah.
her the entire
Still
night.
going strong.
Yeah, she's not listening.
She hit on
Um,
you?
No, it was
hit on
back
her.
and forth. Yeah.
Did she inspire your voluntary cellular
No,
strike?
the Vol Cells thing started the last girl I hooked up with. Turned out to have a boyfriend. It was a whole.
Oh, fuck that bitch.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, what
That's
the fuck?
That's
Was
ridiculous.
this in Nashville?
No,
Or-
this is, I'll,
okay.
I'll tell you about it.
All right. Yeah. No.
You'll don't want to hear my.
You'll
dating
forget about
stories.
it.
I
'cause
do.
Yeah, this is a comedy focused podcast. This is not.
Okay.
We're very professional, as you can see.
Yeah, no.
Very professional.
Yeah. As Sean's chugging his drink.
So where else have I been? I've been
yeah.
to Florida. I did Rhode Island, which is similar. It's like a lot of. It was preppy. It was in Newport. It was the Newport Comedy Festival. out there.
Brown.
I was going to ask
Yeah.
you the road.
Very preppy, very rich. It's really almost like knowing the socioeconomic background of your audience is probably the most important thing, because I did something it wasn't Philly, maybe it was PA, and it was like I found out that it was actually the poorest county in the United States, and I was like, oh wow, this is very good to know.
Reading County.
It was Reading.
Yeah.
It was Reading.
I don't know why I know
Pennsylvania.
that. Just
Is that the county that flipped for Trump?
they love and they love meth.
But
there.
like, was
meth
it?
capital of
Wait,
the
was
world.
it that like? There's like a famous county in Pennsylvania that like decided Pennsylvania for Trump. I'm not
I
sure
don't know
if it
if
was
that's
Reading.
the one.
Really?
I know
Yeah.
Reading just loves meth. That's
Because
my.
I was like, all right, let's not talk about let's talk about something we can all get behind, the abandoned car in the parking lot. And I did
Oh.
a good 7 minutes on that. And
You think you'll find Obama's birth certificate there? No.
it's been there
Hey,
a
now.
while, maybe 8 years, who knows? Wow. And let's see, haven't been to like, I imagine if I did like, San Francisco, Portland, that would feel a lot like Brooklyn, like super woke, super left, super people that I'm used to performing in front of. But it's interesting how like performing in Westchester, although it's very close to the city, and it's like it is basically like doing the road, which is why it's good for like Westchester comics to like do comedy in Westchester and not just think, oh, I just have to always go into the city, because you're missing on that skill set of performing out here.
Well, it's just a different. Like in the city, you're going to see a lot more young people, and out here,
A lot of yuppies, yeah.
yeah, you're doing a lot of old people.
Yeah, a lot of older folks.
Which is most of the country is like
Yeah.
people that are in like this room right here, like people in their 40s, 50s, 60s. They have kids. They're tired. That's
Yeah.
most of the
They
country.
just want to go
They're
sit for a
so
little while.
tired
They
of their
just-
kids.
Yeah.
want to take their shoes off and lay down.
Like, they wanna, they want to get a little drunk and just sit there for a minute.
They're
Yeah.
so tired of their kids, so they come to shows where they
Yes.
see us, who are practically kids. or
Yeah,
their
I know.
kids'
The
age.
amount of times I've gotten like, you're just like my son. And I'm like, all right, I'm still gonna try to have sex with you. Like,
Yeah.
I go on stage, I'm like, hey, and they're like, oh, this is like my son who still lives with me.
I wish somebody thought of me like their daughter. I'd be like, good, because I could use some of that fucking allowance.
yeah, no,
Like,
no.
give me
Daddy.
a 20.
We're all trying for sugar mommies and
Did
daddies
you get
here.
off my lap? No. This room has been fun. Like, we heard there was a night some woman was like dragged out by her neck.
Yeah.
Like, she was like,
Oh, yeah.
was it during the Jeremy Piven
No,
show?
that was
Stormy
during
Daniels.
Stormy Daniels.
Oh,
That was like
damn.
the scariest moment I've seen in this club.
That was,
It was
that was
like-
fun.
No, it was like her bodyguards and had to like escort
Yeah,
these people
they were-
out.
they were
and,
legit.
And,
They
and
were
these
on
men try to like, or like their husbands or boyfriends or whatever, like we're gonna fight these bodyguards.
Yeah, like that's not gonna
I was
work.
like, you will
Yeah.
lose. They will like jab you in the throat.
Yeah, I was in the corner right there. And I think it was with Greg Studley at the time, and I was like, I don't want to get involved because I'm like the guy who like gets knocked out from like a punch that wasn't meant for them.
Yeah.
Just, it's like I was just
Yeah.
standing around. Wake
You're
up in
like,
the white.
I am a YouTube clip waiting to happen.
Yeah, no,
so I'm very scared of conflict all
that,
around.
that woman was
Aw.
very
Yeah.
mean to me that night, and I'm like, I was glad she got hurt.
Good, dumb
Yeah, go back to
twat.
our Stormy Daniels episode to hear
Yeah,
all
that's a
about
fun
that.
one.
Did she fall down the stairs? Oh, you guys
Yeah.
already talked about this.
Oh
at
yeah,
Yeah,
we
this
talked
is-
about
yeah.
that
Okay.
was
I mean,
hot
we-
news.
We
Hot
re-talk about
news.
stuff a lot.
yeah,
cool.
we were like, this is what's going on in the Westchester area.
There's
Stormy
only so many
Daniels.
stories. There was a time when we
Yeah.
just only responded to Facebook comments, but it's whatever.
As
The show's
local
improved.
as local comedy news gets.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have to go back to that soon if we don't get more guests on, but we'll see
Yeah.
about that.
So
in
what's like the
future.
best
Where else
place-
have I performed? Hold on. I wanted
Yeah,
to
yeah,
fully
yeah,
answer
let's-
this question. I did the Women in Comedy Festival in Boston years and years ago.
I like how you say
It
it
did
Boston.
not impress me. I think they've stepped it up in the years since. Like I might go back, but it's like I went like in one of its fledgling years, and I was like, it was like there was like no benefit to going. I actually performed in North Carolina quite a bit. I did the Asheville Comedy Festival, which was great. That's where I met the booker from Good Nights, so that's how I made that connection. So yeah, festivals are good to do. Have I performed in Texas? No, not yet. And I'm going to LA actually next March, so I'm putting that trip together now. Because it's good. I'm like, I need to go out there. And people over time have been like, hey, if you're ever in LA, XYZ. So I've been keeping like a little sheet of like
hey,
things.
I'm going to finally hit you up on that.
Yeah, we got a
and then,
connection
like-
in LA. Shout out to Mary Beckett and Hot Medusa Comedy.
Oh, that's a show?
Yes. We
Yeah,
met them in
you
San
should
Antonio.
actually reach
Wow.
out to them.
Yeah, they
All
put
right,
on
Because
yeah.
they put on like all female shows. I know. Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
all female. I
Yeah.
could do all my stillborn jokes right there at the end, and all the topics have been taken.
Where my stillborn mother's at.
Yeah. Well, mother.
Yeah. I mean, you're not really mothers, but
Yeah.
oh.
Attempted.
Yeah, you were right there. You were
Yeah.
so close.
So close,
So
you know?
close.
Attempted matriarchy.
You still have all the stuff and all the clothes and the crib. And shit.
Yeah, it worked
Yeah.
out for you financially.
Man.
I'm sure they got a lovely gender reveal video out of it.
I saw a gender reveal video.
The woman farting it?
Yes, the
Yeah.
woman farted. It was blue dust. It
Yeah.
was blue smoke. And I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this has gone too far.
Gender reveals need to end.
I would prefer a mass forest fire over this
Well,
like porn star
there
farting
was
blue
there was a
dust.
plane that crashed doing a gender reveal.
That's
No.
right.
No one, the pilot wasn't killed, but like that's what
Oh,
happened.
that's
Is
not fun.
I
Wait,
mean,
how was the plane involved in a gender reveal?
I don't know. I think like the plane was like dropping colored water or
Was it-
something. or
was it
smoke.
crop
I
dusting?
think it was like it was like just
Dusting.
smoke. It was like either blue or pink smoke, and the plane just crashed.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's Harrison
I do.
Ford piloting it?
I do social
Can you
media.
imagine that's the gender reveal? It's gonna be a miscarriage. Surprise!
Oh, not a good omen.
Why does everyone look so sad?
That's my big thing with those things. Like there's a high infant mortality rate in America, and like you're always
Yeah.
gonna have that video. Like it's like crazy high in this country.
Is
That's
it?
Yeah.
that's why I think that was a good joke, Sean.
Thank
I don't
you.
know how you turn that into a bit.
I'll figure it out.
You-
eventually.
but
you know,
just like-
people love to hear 25-year-old guy's perspective on births.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
no,
you
I
guys
mean
know a
they
lot
practically
about a
know
lot.
everything.
Yeah.
All you have to do is read like 2 blurbs of a Wikipedia article, and you're an expert.
Oh my God.
That's basically how I've learned
I wanna
every
lick
piece of
this
information.
truffle
You just,
ball.
like,
Yeah,
You can after that you can mansplain miscarriages to any
I'm a
woman.
great mansplainer.
You look like
You know
one.
what's
do.
sweet, not that face. Peter, I feel like you would do worse at mansplaining because you have like an annoying face.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
I would try to mansplain and get woman-splained in
Yep.
return.
Well,
It just like
it's like the problem is I'm a better feminist than most women. Like that's just really what it is.
Ooh.
It's just like I know more things about it than they do.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you're better at pulling out.
He's
God damn.
so
he-
feminist of
he
you.
knows more
Yeah.
about feminism and meninism.
Yes.
Meninism.
One of my
Misandry.
One
It's
of
a big
my just
problem.
like
Misandry.
Yeah.
one of my like roasts for Sean is that like Sean just like looks like the guy you go on a date with, and he explains why feminism is cancer.
Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, in a way, it's a lot of people are pretty twisted on feminism. Like I feel like in a lot of ways it's not helping people. And I don't know. I feel like in the last few years, like I don't know. I think people have taken the most unhealthy kind of radical elements of feminism, and then like they've kind of run with it. Like I was telling Sean, like we were hanging out earlier, and I was telling him that I was a big feminist in college. I was a women's studies minor, which is like basically you're like, yes, I want to study feminism. So I have like 4 classes of credentials behind me. And I just think like when people get very wrapped up in the radical elements of feminism, they lose a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
This
sense.
is
But
very little like radical or like that guy's cool. Like a radical like cotton candy blower is probably the only
well, because
good
like
version.
when you're a radical in something, you essentially
Like,
are
you should only
not-
be radical on a skateboard. Like that's the only
Radical.
Hell yeah,
fuck
I
man.
remember
yeah,
in college there was a semester where I was in ecofeminism, which the whole premise of ecofeminism is basically that like men have ruined the planet. It was all like that was
Preach.
the focus, is that like men are the reason why like our resources are depleted and like da 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 da. Like so it was very, and there was one dude in that whole class, and everyone was just like, I felt bad for
everyone
that
would give
guy.
him the side eye.
Yes, yeah. I was like, oh, he's not gonna make it. So in the same semester, I was in ecofeminism and I was also in sports broadcasting because I was a communications major, and I was the one girl. I was the only girl in that class of all dudes, and it was like the exact opposite. They're like giving me the side eye, like, this bitch doesn't know about sports, and I was like, you're right. And so I had like both of that going on at the same time, and like it was weird. Like I felt that class was like very much geared. It was like there was very much like a radical idealism behind that class. Not that it was teaching the women in the class to hate men, but like it was not a big, not that much of a leap. Yeah, I mean that's what we were studying. It's pretty wild though. Like, you know, but that's why it helps to be well-rounded in everything.
Yeah, I mean,
Hashtag I'm not with her. Anyway, moving on.
We'll move on. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's a good question though. I mean, there's obviously a lot of sexism in comedy though. Like,
I was gonna ask that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and very unconscious. Like,
Yeah.
I find that in I work with Frank. Like, he sometimes, you know, I don't have any management right now, so he'll sometimes like, and he manages a few comics. Like, he works with Hostelito. He works with like a couple of other, you know, he's helped Goomba Johnny get some things.
Yeah.
And I've really noticed the ways in which like people kind of treat him differently versus like me reaching out for myself. And I don't know if it's just the sort of like veil of having a manager or just it's a man-woman thing. But I've noticed people talk to me way differently than they do to him.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, he's a good friend, so, you know, it's good that he helps me out.
Yeah,
I agree.
I was gonna get into one of our former guests, Tori Poole. Shout out to her. Mentioned she kind of and was made fun of for having this opinion, but she is against the whole notion of what her opinion is. A lot of female comics like really doubling down on the fact that they're female comics,
or comedians,
where like the fact
I
that
hate that word.
Yeah.
right. Well, she was like very against like the fact that like she thinks a lot of female comics really try to only focus on the fact that they're women on stage and really
but you
double.
Okay. I'll let you finish before I interrupt
Well,
you.
no, it was just like they really like
thought.
she like her she kind of wanted to stray away from just doing that. She wanted to focus on like writing solid jokes. And
what was her material about? Do you remember? Or what did she say?
I'm gonna cut this because I don't want to.
Oh, no,
it's okay. It's okay.
5 months since I've seen her sets. Like, I don't like I followed. Yeah, like I don't remember any of my friends'
I'm pretty
jokes
sure she talks about
outside of
being
the
a
ones I do.
teacher.
Okay.
Yeah, she was a teacher.
Really all over the board.
Yeah.
Like, I don't judge women either way. Like, because we are women. We are on stage. They say talk about what you know. And a lot of women are strong empaths. A lot of women are caring, nurturing, have like the typically feminine traits, right? So like it's not crazy to have a female comic talking about like what you would call soft subjects on stage, which is like relationships, kids, you know, like cooking, cleaning, like typical woman shit, but also like dating, right? Like if we're taking the soft subjects of like what the 50s and 60s and transferring them to 2019, what is that? That's dating, right? That's sex.
Right.
That's like, it's the stuff because it's like I think a lot of women have finely attuned observations when it comes to those subjects, and they say talk about what you know, and that is what we observe. Whereas like I think the typical dude has other typical observations. Do you know what I mean? Like most guys are not like going home and hashing out their interactions with their significant other or their, you know what I mean? Like they're more focused. This is in such broad strokes, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's really right to give female comics shit for talking about what they talk about. It's like, well, they talk about what they know and they talk about what they find funny, which is what they observe. So I know that does fall into stereotypes, but it's like, a lot of guys talk about their dicks and they talk about fucking. It's like, well, a lot of women talk about dating.
Yeah, but when I do it,
and
it's
sex.
funny. No.
The point is, right, like, and I've heard a lot of women shit on other female comics, like, oh, they shouldn't have to talk about just female subjects. It's like, well,
Interesting.
any subject can be a female subject, but it's like, what you're talking about stage is what you have made the most observations about and what you personally find the most interesting. So I don't think it's right for anybody to shit on what someone else is talking about. Like, yes, there are some stereotypes, but there's something to that. You know what I mean? Like women are in general like more nurturing and more relationship focused and more like they'll read into shit. They'll be ultra observant about language. They'll, you know, maybe they are more taking care of the house or like they have roommates, but you know what I mean? Like we shouldn't shit on people for the topics that they are making the most observations about. And I think women sometimes get a bad rap. Like if you're funny, you're funny. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. But since there are fewer females doing comedy, I think it's easier to single them out. Like, well, you're not funny because you're talking about XYZ topic. Well, no, you're just not funny because you're not there yet, or you haven't like honed your skills.
So that's interesting. Do you feel like there's a lot of that between female comics? There's a lot of like sort of this gatekeeping that you're describing.
Absolutely.
So that's something like nor Sean and I presumably would know about.
Yeah.
Like this like gatekeeping between. So you see that a lot.
I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak about what I've observed. There are kind of two camps when it comes to female comics. There is kind of like the more left-leaning liberal. This is speaking in huge, broad strokes, sweeping generalizations, right? LGBT community, women that live in Brooklyn, very super liberal, your typical people who love to identify as feminist and nothing else. People who describe themselves as woke. Younger women, that's one group. And then there's like older, I find generally older women, 30s and up. Maybe they're not super motivated by politics. Maybe they don't care very much about fitting into one group or the other. They've lived a little more life. Maybe they have kids, maybe they don't. And they've been doing comedy maybe a bit longer, and they kind of just care more about like what's funny, what's not. You have like your Jessica Kirson, Bonnie McFarlane, Carol Montgomery. And like, even though I'm, and I feel like I fall more into that group because I've also been in the other group.
Right.
Like when I was in my 20s, I just did not that I didn't. I want to say like I didn't know any better, right? I just find that group, the super liberal group to identify with, like the woke, that is a bit more limiting than the other group. Because if you're in that first group and you tell a joke that's like, there's more limitations, and like if you say something that's even racial, not even racist, like you will be chastised from people within the group. And those are the women that are like in the lady Facebook groups shitting on other women. They're the ones that just like mostly really just Brooklyn. They don't do much road work. They're not performing in the country. They don't really know. Like they would bomb if they came even up here to Westchester, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
And then you have like this larger group. Like I don't really give a fuck about politics. I don't really fucking care about news. I just like to talk about what I know. I like to observe people. I like to talk. I love crowd work. I like to get into people's relationships, and I like to do like I'm super inspired by Aaron Berg, who does a ton of crowd work, and he'll do crowd work for like an entire set. I think he's just like incredible. And like a few years ago, I was kind of like very much shit. Actually, last year I was very much shit on from like what I would call this first group of comics, like super lefty. It's weird because I consider myself a feminist, but I'm like talking about myself as if I'm outside that group. But like,
well, I feel like a lot of people do, because a lot of people, when you're using feminists in like the most radical sense.
Yeah.
The people who are on Twitter every day being like, this movie that was made 40 years ago shouldn't be shown anymore.
Whereas I feel like the way you want to define yourself as a feminist is just simply equality for genders.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I made fun of another female comic on Compound Media.
Did I just mansplain feminism?
Yeah, you did. You did a little bit, Peter.
And
Yikes.
I wasn't doing
I'm already
I'm already
distancing myself from you.
I needed a man to put it into terms that I could understand.
All right, honey,
simply.
listen. All right, the men are talking.
Do you know what I'm saying? And someone from the first group would never.
Yeah, I remember.
Have a banter
There was a
like
big
that.
thing last year with you, right? Somebody called.
Yeah, I made fun of I parodied another female comic, and it got wildly twisted into me being someone who supports rape threats, like wild accusations. And like a lot of people didn't see this actual footage, which was like quite silly and quite normal, and we're all allowed to parody each other. Once you become a stand-up comic, you make yourself vulnerable to being parodied. I don't know, I'm just someone who puts comedy above everything else, and I feel like a lot of not even female comics, but comics that are more a part of this first group, comedy is not number one. It's like you want to make a statement.
They're more concerned with being right than being funny.
You want to be right, and then funny is like maybe third or fourth on the list.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of this has made sense. I'm on my second Cosmo.
Makes a lot of sense. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's just the kind of the debate between like now, like everyone's like, oh, comedy's all about being like, Lenny Bruce used to speak out. Like Lenny Bruce would be hated today by
And here's
many
another
miles.
thing that I know people will say about me. They'll say, "Oh, Chrissy kisses up to men. That's why she's where she's at."
That's so
I know
fucking
that's
gross.
a thing that
I mean,
people
she
think
is
of
on our
me.
podcast, so it makes sense.
I mean, I did suck both your dicks earlier.
We're gonna cut that part.
You can't say that. Okay.
Oh, everything you've said has been getting cut out.
That is what's insane is like, and I hate to say, like, sometimes I feel like, all right, if we're talking in huge broad strokes, maybe I do have a more stereotypically male sense of humor. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I don't even want to put myself in a group. I just know that, like, a lot of the guys at Combat Media, I have the same sense of humor as them, and I didn't kiss up to them to try to get a show. I worked really fucking hard and like for months negotiated and thought about what the network was missing, and in fact brought a very female show to that network and got in because I was like, okay, there's a need for this, there's a lack of this, and they were like, yes, we want to appeal to a broader demographic, we want to appeal to women. They were very excited to have me. But that's the thing. There's just an inherent cattiness among female comics. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like part of female competition or just the fact that there's fewer females in comedy. So you're going to look at who's doing better than you and be like, well, there must be something negative attached to their success.
I feel like a lot of comics, and this isn't exclusive to each gender, but I feel like a lot of comics just don't like to be categorized.
Yeah.
And I feel like they get really touchy when they do get I know I do.
Yeah.
Like if someone like
we like to think that we're unique.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Internally I like to
disposable.
think like, oh, well, I do comedy that's different than blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But I think it probably also stems from that, where like I think a lot of comics want to feel like they are
Like I'm
outside of
tired
the pack.
of people calling me just a black comedian. I'm so tired. I'm so much
You're
more.
so much more
So
than
I'm
that.
so
so much
tired
more.
of it as an Asian man.
But at the same time, so much of the business of comedy is branding yourself and like you're going out for auditions. Like Peter, you look like you're like a college kid. You know what I mean? You look like the boy next door. You're like wholesome looking. You look corn fed.
I
and
know.
Sean, you look like you ate even more corn. No, I'm kidding.
I look like Peter's bully is how this
Yeah,
works.
you
It's
look like Peter's bully.
Yeah.
You look, you know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
look like a jock or a school bully, and it's like that's just talking about like film, TV casting, but
Yeah.
like our comedy does fall into brands, into groups, into
Yeah.
like because that's how
Well,
you kind of get booked sometimes.
I always think Jeff Ross talks about it, like when he was starting out. He's like he didn't want to be just the roast guy. He like really got like in his head about it.
But he is the roast guy.
Exactly. But then Dave Chappelle told him like, dude, man, turn your lane into a highway. Like that's your way to success, and that's what he's become. He's the roast guy now. And he's
Yeah,
fucking-
I mean,
nobody says he's
I'm-
not fucking
turn
funny.
your lane into a highway.
I'm debating with that now because I realize that like people respond to me very, very warmly when I am that like, oh, awkward goofball and like, oh, this kid doesn't know what he's doing at all. Like people really love that. But at the same time though, like, I mean, like one of my biggest inspirations now is Drew Michael. I love his comedy so much.
You're
I think
the
he's
only
like,
person I've ever heard.
well, I'm happy. I mean, I
Not
think
that
he's
he's a bad
incredible. He like really
good for
like
you.
rips his guts out on stage, and it's like the
He's
most
very
like
vulnerable.
it's like the most theatrical stand-up performance I've ever seen. And I want to try to write more comedy like that. And I feel like sometimes I get to it, but like usually what works well is like when I like really kind of when I'm vulnerable in like a really
like
like
a TMI kind of
awkward
way. Yeah.
not even TMI, but just like it looks like not that I'm uncomfortable on stage, but I'm just an uncomfortable person in general.
Like
and
you're
people
right
seem
there.
to like
Like you're taking
Yeah.
the audience on a journey into your psyche, which
Yeah.
toes the line between like, should I be saying this out loud? Should I not? Jessica Kirsten does that too. Well,
Yeah.
she'll kind of go into her head, but she'll still have the microphone. Like she'll turn around from
Right.
the audience and she'll be like, "Don't talk about this. This is something you should talk about in therapy." Like it's
Right.
interesting. It's
So
like a
we're-
behind
so
the
like
curtains.
as of now, I'm like debating like, okay, is my brand just like kind of being this like awkward guy because it seems to work, or do I want to like strive for something else? And I don't know. I think I just got to determine
the answer
what
to
I'm
that
more
is
comfortable.
whatever is
Yeah.
most fun for you to do.
Yeah, exactly. And I would say as of now for me, I want to like be more hard, like deep cutting on stage. Like I want to be more like, here's like a dark feeling I have, and I want to like people to, even though that's like very,
you look
it's
very much one way, but for you to have a dark side, it's like it's good. It's good.
Very right, and it's like it's very hard to convey. It's also very hard to convey that if you don't set it up right off the bat, because if I go on stage and I'm just like, oh hey, and then I go into like being like, I fucking have these dreams sometimes, like people are gonna be like, what the fuck?
Don't limit yourself. Like, don't think you need to start a certain way. I think you can go into whatever bit you want. Like, don't. I think that's you being hard on yourself. Like, I need to establish myself a certain way right at the beginning of my set, or they're not going to buy it when I go into some dark shit later on. That's not true. They will be on board with you because, like, you're human. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's like that. Oh, I'm trying to make a good first impression. But then the longer you get to know a person, you learn about their deep, dark shit. You know,
right?
So it's okay.
Right.
It's okay to like don't feel like
yeah. That's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep talking about the black struggle. That's my highway.
Sean cannot get a cab to pick him up.
No, I really.
Sean's gonna keep talking about how he needs reparations.
Yeah, I really do.
I'm gonna be passing this jar around. It's gonna go to the Baptist community in my area.
Oh boy.
I kind of need to get going for my show.
We got a show tonight.
But I was saying, do you want to keep
wow.
going a little longer with just you and Chrissy? You can bring all this stuff to the show, right? Like,
I mean,
You wanna
we're
do that?
almost.
We're
I
at
mean, we're an hour.
53 minutes.
I feel like
we
we've said all
can
we're gonna
we
say.
can wrap it up.
We can
right
start wrapping
now.
up a little bit.
Yeah.
Don't
So
leave me alone with
Chrissy,
him.
Chrissy,
Yeah,
again.
that's fair. I don't trust him that much.
Chrissy, again, where can people find you?
Oh gosh, you can find me. All social media is at Chrissie Mayr, ChrissieMayr. Check out the Wet Spot every Monday at 8 p.m. EST on compoundmedia.com. If you use my promo code Mayr, MAYR20, you can get a discount on the subscription. Also, if you're kind of pervy and like to masturbate, check out my Patreon, patreon.com/Chrissie Mayr. You can see pictures of me on vacation in a bathing suit. If not, just give me a follow on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like 20 of my photos in a row. That would be weird.
slide those DMs.
What tier gets me the smutty Chrissy pics?
The lowest
Like
tier.
$1? Yeah.
And the
Literally $8 a month.
That's a fucking deal,
And as we
people. That's
established
a
with the
deal.
Big Mary podcast, the high quality ones will be the highest tier. The ones I take.
Most
Oh,
go
wow,
for
yeah, high def.
Yeah, the high def.
most go for like $25 a month.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Mine's pretty damn cheap then.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You can just type in my full name on either. You can type in at Peter Clark _Deutsch on Instagram or at Clark Deutsch P on Twitter.
And you can follow me at BigBerry63 on Instagram. Follow my second podcast, The Big Berry Podcast.
Love that podcast.
It's a great podcast. Everybody loves that one.
And
Everyone loves this one too.
Be sure to follow us, Two Mike
Follow us
Minimum,
at-
on social media, on Instagram and Twitter. And please, 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 if you're listening to us on Apple or SoundCloud or Spotify or wherever, give us a follow.
Also,
we'll get our numbers
check
up.
out Lucy'sLaughLounge.com for tickets to our first live show.
First live show.
Featuring Peter and I, Brian Morris,
Samantha Ivey, Nick Fields,
and our headliner Monty
Mason. It's going to be a great
some
show.
of the absolute funniest people.
$10 tickets. That's cheap for Lucy's. You got
bargain.
$10 tickets. No drink minimum. Please,
And
please
I
come
will
out.
drink with you after the show. That's a Sean Berry guarantee.
Yeah.
But I will not have
He will
sex
not
with you
have
after-
sex with
I will
you.
not
Do
have
not
sex
even
with you.
attempt
Don't
it.
even try it.
Do not try to wrap your pussy around his hard cock.
Oh my God.
Yikes,
Stop
Peter.
it.
Yikes. This is
Do
what would
not-
happen if I left you guys?
Do not try it.
Jesus.
Do not try it
All right.
at all.
Well, on that awkward note, let's wrap up another episode of
Two Mike Minimum.
You guys are so gay.
Yeah.